Yeah, so no, we picked an apartment. We are all set to go for San Diego. We move out at the end of the year, or the end of the year. Oh, God, no, please, God. No, no, no.
Yeah, right when winter. Hey,
Yeah.
be
Oh,
here a couple months during that.
this is perfect timing. So we're out the end of July and then move over in August. And I'm looking at the calendar, like the place we're going into, and I'm looking at the calendar on the timing and all that, and they're opening the same week as Comic-Con, and they're downtown. I'm like, that seems like a really stupid schedule. I would not want to try to get a moving truck through downtown San Diego during Comic-Con.
There's only 140,000 people there.
Yeah. Ron says, welcome to the real world, San Diego. Oh, I didn't know Ron was out of San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to figure out if there's is the user group out in the burbs or is it downtown or is there?
Neither. From downtown, it's about a 20-minute drive north in the La Jolla area. I haven't been in a while. You know, they keep getting kicked out of locations, but they're usually
bunch, huh?
La Jolla. Well, I shouldn't say La Jolla. I just said that because that's easier, but it would be the UTC Miramar area. So, yeah, about 20-minute drive from downtown without traffic.
Not doing that.
That's where I used to work, is in the UTC area.
Not doing that. Nope.
Brent will have to get a helicopter.
Yeah, no, that means I won't, or a boat. Maybe a really fast boat. That would be interesting.
I'm on a boat.
Joining us remotely is Brent Ozar from 15 minutes away.
Yes.
I'd love to have you in person. I mean, definitely.
Live via satellite.
Be out there once a year to present, and that'll be about it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, I even lived downtown Chicago. The user group was like a 15-minute walk away from me, and I was still like, the scheduling almost never works. It's hard to get. You have to be at a specific place and time.
And it's after work, and it's like dinner time.
Yeah.
I think it's on a Tuesday or Thursday. I think it's Tuesdays.
The food's usually not healthy.
Oh, it's always pizza.
Yeah.
It's always pizza.
Well, I want pizza, but I don't want pizza.
And I think it's always Pizza Hut specifically. Not that I've gone too often. It just never worked out.
When was the last time you went? I'm gonna guess 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Four maybe.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So Eric, what's the best pizza in New York?
Oh.
Lombardi's.
Oh.
Lombardi's. I love Lombardi's. It's like very thin crust pizza. Like very sort of like traditional Italian style. Their sausage and pepperoni pizza is like I want to get buried with that. I don't even really eat all that often. Like once maybe twice a year, like by accident at a user group. But like that stuff is mind blowing.
So not Joe's, huh? Not Joe's.
No, not Joe's. Sorry.
Eat at Joe's. I think that's the crab thing. All right. Well, it's a quarter after. We'll go ahead and knock out these technical questions. Folks, if you have a technical question, feel free to put it in the questions pane and go to webinar. We work through them first come, first serve. And so if you wait till the end, we'll probably not have time to hit it. Tom starts out by asking, does the team still recommend SQL Server 2016 over 2017 for production environments?
I don't know that we ever recommended one over the other. I usually recommend being on whatever is the newest for new environments, right? Like if I was spinning up a brand new SQL Server box for production today, I wouldn't want to be on 2016 SP2. I want to be on the newest one. I want to be in like the most recent version because that's the most likely to get like backported fixes and improvements and all that other stuff. And then that when you bug Microsoft for support, I think they're more likely to respond because they're like, oh crap, this is our newest one. If there's a problem here, it's going to be a problem later when people actually, when real people start using it. So I would always recommend being on the most recent, even if it's a little scary.
I'm there too because I don't want to reinstall this thing that often. I'm going to put the SQL Server in, and it's going to be there for like 10 years because my managers never ever let me upgrade or install anything. So I want to get on, man, if they could let me get an early access build to 2018, I'd probably be in. Like, all right, let's do this.
I can get you one of those for $5.
$5. They're like at the Chinatown, right? They have all those DVDs.
SQL Server.
Is that one of those places where it's kind of like a storage unit, and you say, hey, I want that one. They say, come back in 30 minutes, and then they'll have your DVD ready?
Or you go through an alley, and you go past all the fake Rolex watches, the Folex watches.
Yeah. Get your Casios, your Booney and Dirks, whatever you want.
I do have to say it does bother me that I can no longer get fake watches in New York, because I used to love going and getting like a $20 Breitling or something, because I thought they were funny as hell. They would die, and then of course when they die, you're not going to take them in to get the battery replaced, because you don't want to. Hi, can I get the battery replaced in my $20 Rolex?
Bolex, please, Bolex.
Brian asks, hi team, my boss wants some readable databases on another server, but we can't use availability groups because the SQL Server stuck on 2008 R2 for a while. Could I do some kind of database mirroring or automated nightly snapshots, or is there a better way to do this?
Replication.
Oh, that's fair. So what kind of replication?
Well, the best solution.
Someone here actually said replication positively?
Well, that's only because of the old version, though. You know, my client right now, they're on 2008 R2, and they would like a reporting environment. Like, well, you get log shipping or you get replication. They can't handle the latency of delaying the restore, so they get replication. You can do it with a database snapshot, but you have to do it regularly, put it on a schedule, and the data is immediately latent. It's not, you're not being kept up to date, so you got to rebuild it all the time. I really don't think that a snapshot on top of a mirror is a good solution for mirroring or for reporting.
It's enterprise only. You got to pay the big bucks for it.
Yeah.
So transactional replication.
Okay. My question would be like how old does that data have to be? Because like Tara's saying, if you want it to be like up to date, then replication is probably a good bet. If you can withstand some latency in the data, then log shipping might be a good bet. I also read there was a really good answer on Stack Exchange recently about taking snapshots with mirroring, where like someone was talking about setting up a database with it's just all synonyms that points to the snapshot, and then like dynamically rebuilding them with the new snapshot name whenever you generate one. I thought that was a really cool idea, because that's a lot better than like the what I'd always heard is like the very manual process of like taking a new snapshot, draining users out of the old one, directing them to the new one. Like I thought the synonym idea was, I think it was Aaron Bertrand, someone from Microsoft, but I was like, wow, that's cool. I never would have thought of that, because
I have done that, and the pain in the rear is if you can't get single user basically on the database, your script goes halfway through altering the synonyms and then breaks because somebody has the object open and it's blocked. So then some of your queries are pointing to one snapshot and some are pointing to another. Yeah, that's
just use no-lock.
Yes.
Right? I mean, the fact that he said automated nightly snapshot is a possible solution means that the latency is tolerated here. So, I mean, for me, I might even just do a backup and a restore. But you could either do log shipping with a delay. That way, you skip certain, like 8 hours out of the day, and then it'll catch up on its own. Or backup and a restore, but that's probably one of the least desirable, as far as fast. Snapshot replication can do it too. It doesn't have to be transactional.
Yeah. If you're going to go like the backup and restore route, I would probably either want to grab like the PowerShell scripts from DBA tools, because they have a good like automatable restore thing, or grab like Quest Lightspeed, which is pretty cheap per server, and they can automate a lot of that stuff too.
Let's see, next up, Jeremy asks, we had a reindex job running on a 4 terabyte database. Our availability group
See what you've done with this reindex job?
Whoopsie.
You can just see Tara's face turning as you read that.
It's going straight to her. And then on the secondary server, the database was in a recovery state. How do I see what it's doing or any progress?
Yeah, good luck with that. Progress, check the error log. Check the error log. It should tell you the phases it's in and percentage. Because if it's in recovery, then it's going through crash recovery over there. I mean, at least your primary, at least this only happened to the secondary. If you have a reindex job during a failover and it happened to be working on a large index, oh boy, crash recovery is going to take a while. So yeah, this sounds like it might have been async, since I would have thought that if it was synced, then the primary would have had issues too. I don't know. But yeah, this is a lot of people can't run reindex on when you use availability groups, especially on high volume systems and 4 terabytes. So I've had to completely disable maintenance on availability groups, and guess what? No performance issues. I had an update stats job once or twice a day, and I was fine.
Yeah, I had a 60 terabyte database that went into recovery, and it took weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks.
We had one that took 9 days.
It was completely the database administrator's fault. He was doing something he shouldn't have done, and he was not fired.
And you just left. You guys just left it that way. You didn't just start the restore process. Because the restore, I mean, 60 terabytes. I can't imagine how long that's going to take.
I had the server. Our DBAS server was pretty beefy, so I quickly essentially failed it over manually with just data and just started using that for processing. So I saved the day.
Richie pulled out his DBA hat.
Quite the DBA hat he has.
Yes.
Yeah.
SQL Server DBA, Postgres DBA, Cloud DBA.
DynamoDB. Look, one server failed. Look, the other one, it failed over. That one failed. Oh, look, it goes back to the other one. That failed. Oh, look, it goes back to the other one. It failed.
Some fun times with our own hosting. Which Ron asks a relevant question. He says, if y'all are going to pick hosting, do you pick Azure or Amazon? Richie, what did we pick and why?
We picked Amazon because Brent was using Amazon. I mean, really, that's the only. At this point, I guess the other thing was that we were looking into serverless, and the serverless story was better at the time in Amazon than it was in Azure. But really, they're so comparable these days. I mean, if you're on SQL Server and you don't want to use RDS and you just want to go ahead and use it, Azure, whatever, go do that, right? I mean, if your company's already using Azure, go use Azure, right? Because the resources are probably there and you have knowledge in the company and stuff like that. But they're both pretty comparable. I find Amazon a little bit easier in some things, and I find Azure a little bit easier in other things. So it is what it is.
I would say, too, just like we picked one based on one particular service that wasn't available anywhere else at the time, you may have the same kind of thing. There may be some business make or break that, man, I've got to have exactly what Azure Cosmos DB offers. This is, make or break for me for some reason. But it's fairly rare.
Yeah, I would love to use Cosmos DB in some of our scenarios. That would be really, really interesting to use some of that stuff. But that's fine. We get along with what we got.
I think I would avoid Azure because DTUs terrify me.
But they stopped now. You can get cores and RAM. They let you buy Azure SQL DB and cores and RAM.
Yeah.
Because you and everyone else in the world, it sure terrified me.
Like, what the? It's like getting a weird tax at the end of the month. It's like, what?
Yeah, I will say this. I do find Azure security much more difficult to grok than AWS security. I think because they added that enterprise layer to it, it's just a little more difficult to put your head around some things.
Look, dude, there have been like 3 GitHub issues in a row where we've added new tables and we can't get permissions to access them. If it's this bad in AWS, how bad would it be in Azure? Holy smokes.
Oh, no, that's just me being a jerk. What are you talking about? Really?
She's like, I got this new table over here. We go to query it. Access denied.
Closed his watching
fine
world.
In dev. If you ever work in dev, just
we don't have access.
Fraud.
Sadly, I do have access. I just always forget to go over there. Pablo asks, hey, I'm trying to work on this parameter sniffing problem in QA, and I'm wondering if I rename a table and name it back, will that recompile my query?
Yeah, that's what is it? I think that's enough of a DML change for it to happen.
I wouldn't do that. If you want to recompile, I would do something else.
Well, it sounds like that the dev team did it, and he's wondering if that could have fixed the performance issue.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
Yeah.
Don't let them do that very often.
Don't reinforce that bad behavior.
Yeah, show them how to really recompile. You can recompile just a query. You don't have to rename things.
Ooh. Daryl says, I'm not getting any positive feedback at work, but SQL Constant Care is my only happiness when y'all say congratulations. He says, I worked my hiney off last week and I cleared tons of errors, but I didn't get any feedback. How do you decide what to congratulate and what not to? Richie, when do the congratulations rules on SQL Constant Care, how do those work?
Well, I see. I have this bag of dice here, and see, what I do is I roll them. See, let's see if I can get them up here. See, I roll all these dice,
Ooh.
and I roll them, and then whatever rule number it comes on is what we congratulate on.
Are there any dice with negative numbers on them?
If I draw a negative in front of them.
But like, can you buy any with negative numbers?
Oh, you can buy any dice you want, man.
Yeah, because I think that would be an interesting thing in a D&D. Like, if you could possibly get a negative number, it would like go in like the opposite favor in an RPG.
Well, your stats can have negative numbers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would
see mine on Int. It's like
your charisma stats are down the tubes, man. You're like -4. It's awful.
I think I'm an orc. Character. That's basically what happened.
Troll, maybe. So the way that they work is they run every Monday afternoon, on your Monday collections, whenever your Monday collections run, and they don't trigger for everything. For example, if something bad happened during the week, we may not believe that you've truly fixed it yet. It may still be triggering, so we get a little paranoid on those. Let's see, John asks, is there a way to raise an alert for a long-running agent job? For example, if an agent job currently normally takes 10 minutes, but it's now taking an hour, I want to see an alert for that.
Yeah, just need some custom scripting, and you can do a raise error and have it, have the raise error post a message, and then that can be sent out automatically via alerts. But yeah, custom scripting would be needed here for sure.
And it's not like you'd want to hard code a time. What you'd want like some kind of standard deviation or a rolling average of the last 10 days on that task.
And then is it like the whole job or just a particular step in the job, or like there's a lot of stuff at stake there.
Next up, Mike asks, Activity Monitor, does this require any special permissions?
Who knows?
Activity Monitor. We don't use it.
What is that? Never heard of it.
My client earlier this week had it open. I was like, can I close this? I need more screen space. I don't want to see this. Can we download who is active?
Yeah, I would say to talk about what you use instead of Activity Monitor.
Okay. SP Who is Active. Go to whoisactive.com, download the latest version, and off you go. I haven't been using. I use Blit2 occasionally. If I don't have Who is Active on a client machine, then I have to be a Blit2. But Who is Active has more features, more columns, more capabilities, and I log that to a table, and I can query the table instead of running the store procedure. There's a little bit of a learning curve with it. Figuring out which input parameters you want to use. I always use get plans. Get plans equals true, so that I can see the execution plans, just in case I need to look at them.
Yeah, Adam has a lot of great documentation on the site about how to use it. So I would just go, like what Tara said, go to whoisactive.com. There's like a download link, there's documentation links. He walks through everything. And aside from I think general Azure compatibility and improvements, I don't think any of the parameters or anything have changed in like a decade. So
yeah. And if you're familiar with running SPWho or SPWho2, just download Who is Active and then SP_Who is Active, and then that'll be your replacement. It's getting the data from other places, whereas Who and Who2 get it from sys processes.
Steve asks,
is it weird? Is it weird that I have more than one set of polyhedral dice?
No, I would be surprised if you didn't have 4 or 5 different colors. Knowing you. I don't think I have any. I don't think I've had a dice and single die in here for years. I gamble on the SQL Server. I use RAM.
Yeah, that's right.
Steve
shut it down? Snake eyes, yeah.
Steve asks, what's with the word on the street hold up on SQL Server 2017 Cumulative Update 8? I think Microsoft's release services team had a real rough week last week. They took a while to get CU8 out the door. They took a while to get the release notes out. The release notes had problems. They said that, or then SSMS 17.8 had a problem, couldn't create a database or something. So just a rough week. We all have bad weeks sometimes. Paul says, I have the transaction log in TempDB grow out of control. After I reviewed the log, I found the query that was causing the issue, but it wasn't directly causing the issue. There was this query that was saying select statman on the table that was causing the long-running query. What's this query and what's it doing?
That is update stats, baby.
Yeah. Maybe if you don't have a job, maybe the auto update stats kicked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tishal says, are indexes that are not used for reading, could they still be useful for updating in large tables?
No, they would be the opposite. They're not helping any read queries, and you have to update them. You are generating negative I/O. You have it's like not like the negative dice numbers. you're generating the kind of I/O you don't want. If you have to update those indexes, but they're not helping any read queries because they're not helping the update or delete.
Well, they could be. If you say update on a really big table where hair color equals gray, and that's the only time you ever use the hair color field, and you want to avoid a table scan, yeah, that can be useful for quickly narrowing down the rows that you want to update. But
if they're not being read, then no.
Well, if you say, so let's say I want to avoid the table scan, and I don't want.
No, I get what you're saying. Well, if you have a where clause on that column, but if it's just not being read at all, then it's not helping.
And it would show.
I just wonder if she's talking about reads equals 0, or by not being used for reading. I wonder if she's referring to selects.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We'll wait for a follow-up.
Yeah. It actually could be used for foreign keys as well, and updates in other tables and things like that.
Who has foreign keys though?
Aaron says, I've got a web app, and he's got a big, long thing. Aaron, because of the length of that, you probably want to post that on Stack Overflow. You'll see the pages go by with info on how to post that. Joe says, currently I have SQL Server 2014 on a SAN. I have a couple of large MDF files that are on a Synology box, like a cheap toaster NAS, in a different location. The database, JBOD. The databases can't find the drive, or the drive is inaccessible. However, I can access the drive when I remote in. Where should I start troubleshooting?
Good Lord! It says you can't connect to the drive where your files are supposed to be. What on earth? It's at another location. Oh my goodness!
That's a
great moment.
Hire us. It sounds like you need to hire us.
It
sounds like misery.
Next weekend.
My guess, and this is just a guess, is that when you remote desktop in, you have drive mappings that are like automatically mapping a letter to that Synology. SQL Server doesn't log in remotely, so it doesn't have drive mappings.
Yeah. You could use XP Command Shell to run netuse and set up those drive mappings if you wanted. But then you would have to make sure that the service account, or the account that the SQL Server is running under has permissions to those drives. So it could be a permissions thing too.
And you'd have to make sure that netuse runs every time so that the drives are there when you restart.
This is a terrible architecture. I'm sorry.
Everything about this is setting off alarm bells. We usually try to keep a poker face with y'all. Like, we don't ever want to say, hey, put some pants on. But in this case, this is no pantalones.
Yeah. You know, I wouldn't gamble with that with my large MDF files. Yeah.
I mean, what kind of a budget were they given to set this up? Like $20? Here you go.
You can buy anything from the bargain bin at Staples you want to build this thing. There was some adhesive spray. There were thumb drives.
Yeah, we have some zip drives back here. You know.
Yeah. Synology, great for a home NAS for your.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's its uses.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have your Plex server on there too? Like, what else?
Doing
What's going on?
Terry says, Brent, isn't it summer in Chicago yet? Don't you ever go outside? Your blue wall makes you look very pasty white. No, I am pasty white. I just got back from California. Yeah. This is as white. And I tan like that. I mean, like I just tan immediately, and I still nothing.
Also, what a lot of people don't realize is that Brent is perfect Pantone white. It's not regular, like perfectly calibrated Pantone white, not by accident.
But you know, it makes complete sense because he lives up in Chicago in the winter, and then it's instant camouflage. You know, just take off the shirt, take off the pants, and nobody sees him.
Brent has strangely never been mug naked. I don't know how.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Steven says, well, we're on the topic of replication. No, Steven.
Where's Kendra?
No, well, we are not.
No. Yeah, no. And I saw you add that question, Steven. You added it way after we were on replication.
Mm-mm.
He says, any recommendations on getting our subscribers back in sync after we restore them from a backup other than reinitializing? I have several publications that transfer data across the WAN. Reinitializing these is a very lengthy process.
Yes, so restore your transaction chain and get it to the same point in time, and then then set up replication and say, I'm already initialized, just start sending me data.
Oh, Paul has a weird one. I said, would it be a good practice to set auto update statistics to false on TempDB? Should he turn off auto updating stats on TempDB?
I wonder even how he came up with that question. Like what did you see that made you worry about auto update stats on TempDB? I would be curious about that.
Me too.
Did a developer suggest it?
Then if that's true, you should just take them at their word because they're very sharp people.
Yeah.
Also, they control my permissions. So. And then Jeremy asks, so Jeremy had the follow-up to he had the AG failover when in the middle of rebuilding an index. He says, here's the error. Recovery of database is 0% complete. Phase 1 of 3, this is an informational message only.
This was like my worst nightmare on Friday when my client's machine went down and we were watching crash recovery, watching grass grow basically. It eventually came online, but I replied to Jeremy, I believe earlier, and just saying, if it stays in this state 0% after like a day, then I would just punt and remove the secondary out of the AG and then re-add it.
So what you need to do is grab a chair, go down the hall to the vending machine and smash it, and grab every Snickers bar in there because
you're not going anywhere for a while.
Hungry?
I'd also say too, if you're in an AG, that means you got multiple nodes. Take one of the nodes that isn't doing this and go start restoring a database onto there. Just get yourself a plan B. Because I know it's 4 terabytes and you may not have the space, but if the SAN admin can get you the space pretty quickly, that's what
I had a 5 terabyte database take like 21, 24 hours to go through crash recovery, and that wasn't even like an AG thing. That was just a VLF thing. Like so those honkers can take a while to budge. Like it's not like you're sitting there hitting F5 and like getting constant feedback. It's just sitting at a number for a real long time, and you're like, oh, it's rough.
No visibility into what's going on.
No.
Paul was asking about TempDB, the turn off auto update stats, and he said that the reason why his drive filled up was that statman query was running. It caused his transaction log to grow to 100 gigs, and that's why he thinks that thing.
Oh no! So that's going to happen, user databases are going to do that work there too. So it's not going to help to turn off auto update stats in TempDB. User databases would also do their stat update sorting there. So sorry about that.
Ouch.
Get a bigger TempDB drive. 100 gigs is not that much.
No.
We usually, just as a ballpark, at least 25% of the size of your databases, so like the total database size on the instance, if you've got a 1 terabyte's worth of user databases on there, it's not unrealistic to think that you need at least 250 gigs for TempDB.
And to put things like in a little bit of perspective, I have a 256 gig micro SD card in my phone right now. So like it's like that's what's my phone, and I don't even think I'm smart enough to put apps on it. So
did you expense that?
No, I got it for free when I bought a Galaxy S8, and they sent me this like whole VR kit for free that I didn't want, and I sold. But the one thing I kept was the 256 gig memory card that was, I guess, supposed to hold all my sweet VR games. Okay, thanks. I'll keep this.
Yeah. Nope. All right, well, that's all the questions that we got for today. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us this week at Office Hours, and we will see y'all next week. Adios.
Bye.
Roll for initiative.
Goodbye.